All right. This is the Franks versus Bohemians. I call them the Franklins out of a term of endearment. But in a more recent, it's a most recent video, I talked about how I had a fallout with this Civ. I had a really strong phase with this, and just kind of worked out where I made enough good decisions and so point. So this was the zenith of me being the Franks. Now, I'm going to be fighting the Bohemians, one of the, if not the most counter civs, I would argue, in the game. They genuinely don't have any inherent weakness militaristically, but what they do struggle in is speed, mobility, and prompt aggression. They have the ability to steamroll, but they themselves are going to take their time to get to that point. Now, to get into the Franks first. So, in my first video regarding the Burgundians, I spoke about the similarity of the Franks and the Burgundians in that the Franks are more or less the Netherlands border to France and the German border. So it's just kind of like the outer crust of France during this time of what honestly was really more of a extreme military power that France more or less kind of accepted, and it was unique. You know, I guess it's somewhat similar to the Teutonic Knights in that they had their own like militaristic order, but they themselves lived in Germany, and so they kind of worked with the German government as extreme mercenary groups, but then like also as like a ministry outlet, so unique stuff. So anyways, that to say, the Franks and what they differ from the Burgundians is, while Burgundians are relatively the new kids on the block, the Franks are not. They are arguably the original Holy Villager efficiency. But they arguably have or are the original cavalry civilization. And so, that to say, as I get housed for a second, they get 15% faster berry collection, which is nice for many reasons, because it just kind of has this super intrinsic flow to get done what you need to. And what may that be? It's cavalry. So this is more of a knight civ. And the reason for that is they don't get Hussar, and while they do get 20% HP for their cavalry, it's a unique disposition where they don't actually best even other light cavalry lines. So that 20% will generate a 54 HP light cav as comparative to a 45 HP light cav. But that doesn't start until the feudal age, right? So that's kind of that, right? But we're both kind of doing the same thing where it's minimal on wood and as much as possible on food for the first like 20 or so villagers, right? So we're gonna get the second board here, but going back to the Franklins, so their knights come Castle Age, it's more or less like free bloodlines, so 120 knights, nothing special about that. What makes their knights very special is they get free farming upgrades. Now you'll notice I garrison like that, and on garrison because 6 villagers in the town center is 2 volleys and then a pop out and fire on the floor, so that's the little fancy procedures for that. But they can spam knights because of the free farm upgrades, which is over 1,000 res in total when you add up all the upgrades, because horse collars 75 food wood, then 125 for heavy plow. They get +1 carrying capacity, so it makes their farming even more efficient, and that's just like anything in general, but you know, they get it for free. And then crop rotation is either 250 food, 250 wood, or 250 food, 200 wood. The point being is, they get efficient. And speaking of efficiencies, their castles are 15% off in Castle Age, so they pay like 525-ish, 533, whatever. They save 98 stone from 650, so there you go, like 540 and some change. 552, whatever, just do your math on the top of it. So, it doesn't matter, but in Imperial Age, they get 25% off, so then it's like 498, something like that, right? Which is very satisfying. And they get cheaper castles, albeit not all the full attack upgrades, because being an exceptional knight civ, they have many counters to stop knights. And so making throwing axemen, which is a very, I would argue, cartoonish figure in terms of realism, because the axe is like the size of a man's torso. And while funny, it's a bit redonkulous because he has infinite axes and it's not realistic. But hey, it's a video game. And I'm sure it was a real unit, but don't know where all the axes came from. I get hatchets, but axes, I mean, yeah, it's the size of the whole character. So I think markets and blacksmiths are only 50 wood for the Bohemians, which we'll get back to in a second. But, so you'll notice, right, 45 HP, 45 HP. But as soon as I hit feudal, that's going to jump to 54, which is satisfying, and then it's great for scout rush, hits the berry collections, the farm upgrades. Just a lot of intuitive motion and synergy with this civ. So yeah, 54, so pretty solid. But yeah, so doing pretty good in that. I generally know there's about 4 civs out there that are near guaranteed to do a castle drop. Now, even in higher elos, that stays pretty true, but me and my near 1000 elo, or sorry, 1100, let's not disparage ourselves too fast. Yeah, it's like the Bohemians, the Spanish, and the Portuguese. It's like near 100% that that's going to happen. And so, the Franks, lastly, get an exceptional siege line. They get heavy scorpions, bombard cannons, and nothing special about the rams or onagers, but heavy scorpions are very key in what they can do. And so, that to say, as I predicted, in comes the oh-so-typical castle drop. So, I wasn't a slouch myself, but I usually use stone villagers to build structures because I know I can get my castle up in time. So that's nice. But going back to this is what I see. I don't know why I went so heavy on gold. Probably because I wanted the relics. This was silver. This was very, very unfortunate. One of the ways to go up to Castle Pass is to bypass losing an extra villager, but there you go. So it's tit for tat, I suppose. But anyways, we know most likely what's coming my way. Obviously I don't see it, because this is what I see. I have a suspicion, right? So, in any case, we're gonna get our numbers up. This was enough of a reason for him to not put it anywhere else, because they're greedy people. You know, they want a castle drop, they want to steal the forward res. And speaking of greedy and just whatever, but the Bohemians, right? So their spear line units get an extra 15% damage towards cavalry. So like fully upgraded halberdier does like 36 damage per strike against cavalry unit. But with the Bohemians, they get like 42, 45 damage, which is insane. And then, historically speaking, their unique unit, the Huffite, or not the Huffites, the Hussite wagon, is very cool in that it is historically backed in that, well, it's a wagon, and they would have pikes, halberdiers, or halberds rather, and they put that out of the wagon for cavalry charges, and then they have guys with muskets or any gunpowder beams, so they could stop archers, and then they could also stop cavalry. Well, and as intuitive as that is, it's a fact, because that's what their unique unit does. Now, extremely expensive. More expensive than a Manga. But, fortunately, this guy ended up bailing on the position. And that works for me because, you know, I'm going to take it out. But just in case he still wants to do a Hussite wagon push, I'm going to just canalize it to where he either has to go all the way around, or he's got to go through here and take Castle Fire, and eventually punch through here, which is going to take a good amount of time. So, I'm already starting to make rams. If his goal was to limit me in terms of like villager production, while I'm producing villagers, any wood I get, I'm trying to save for a monastery, I'm trying to save for rams. And I kind of panic in that I get the stone upgrade because I've been here before where there's an initial hole and you know, they just loop around, petard their way through, and then, you know, deal with a extremely powerful unit. That can be dealt with, but critical mass or a large expenditure of resources is needed to take them out. So anyways, I realized this is a good opportunity to just start getting relics and do every subsidiary tasking. Rams. Could have built a town center, but that's what it is. Or almost could have. But I'm doing villager production, which is solid. Again, I already have the freeform upgrades. I may have gotten the lumber camp upgrade. I can't recollect. So anyways, I know in the long term that this guy, the late game Bohemian composition, is extremely deadly. So I can't necessarily stop that production because even though his Fort Castle isn't doing the most for now, I am spending a lot of resource, so I don't have necessarily enough time to bum rush, counterattack, and then just try to destroy him before. I really kind of don't. So, in the meanwhile, I made 4 rams, so we're going to see what we can do with this. But back at his place, he just got his 3rd town center up. Now, I did create a lot of villager idle time, about 8, 10 of them, however many built this castle, to walk forward and walk back. But, in the meanwhile, I'm just gonna carefully map through this with the monks, and then generally feeling like he doesn't have a defense. I feel like 4 as opposed to my normal 6 rams will do the job. Now, I'm producing at home, which is good. And I'm pretty much going to take this castle out with a grand expenditure of 30 health. So that's pretty nice. So he accomplished villager delay. Well, not multiple TC production villagers have been turning out, but he's gonna accomplish like me booming at a slower rate. Okay, so he nullified my booming capabilities, but I in return took out a castle and a few villager idle times, so pretty solid. Not great micro, but that's done with. Still have one market, so we'll be. And now I'm starting to get some TC production, or TC boom, so I'm going minimal on the gold, because all I need is monks. I don't think he's going to do a counterattack, so that was my logic, right? But we're starting to get some really good production out of the town centers. Let's go and take a look at what he's up to. And for the most part, he's more or less doing the same. So he's going very well on food, very well. And then he's doing pretty solid on his production, but he's just booming at this point, right? And I start to think the same. But then I kind of realize, you know, he really delayed me. So I don't think he's going to have much of a force. And I don't think he'd expect to counterattack. So I'm kind of brewing that in the back of my mind. So with that being said, and feeling my villager production count is suitable, I kind of figure let's go into a counterattack. So what does that look like? It looks like the form of, well, relics. So that's nice. But eventually, okay, I guess we'll just fast forward. Yep, there it is. There's the timing. But I just realized, hey, he's gonna think if I'm gonna attack, he's gonna do cavalry, so he's gonna invest a lot into my opponents. He's gonna invest a lot into halberdiers. Fortunately, he didn't notice this one, so that's nice. But yeah, I was right in that he didn't really have much of a military, so I'm gonna make some throwing axemen. So you'll see that. I have a propensity to throw villagers in a town center that I want to go forward and then just push them all out at the same time. Works for me. So, sounds great. But I'm just making as much villagers as possible. We're getting wheelbarrow or hand carts, so that's nice. And then we're just going to head on out. And we're going to get our 5th relic. And I just want to keep making as much production as possible. And ironically, though there's only 5, it should be enough to hold off what he's going to do. So yeah, like, absolute meme of a unit. Half-sleeved, axe the size of the human, and then just has infinite numbers. So anyways, this is what I'm going to do. He doesn't see it showing up until it's kind of too late, and we're just gonna shred through these pretty easily. Look at that. Obviously you want a lot more, but because they're infantry, they don't really deal a lot of, or really have to worry about pikemen damage. You can always critical mass, so they can always take me out, but for 55 food and 25 gold, that's pretty simple. So I know he's not going to stick around, or so I feel, but at this point, that's what I'm going to do. Just kind of send a message. Score suggests I'm doing pretty solid, and we're just going to keep doing our thing, which is production, and eventually, like, seizing some military opportunities. So, in the meanwhile, I take out this town center. I'm going to be taking these barracks out, so I'm feeling very good about myself. To the point where I built a town center on his, like, OG forward TC. So, this was a mistake. Pro tip, you want to save their farms, especially if they don't delete it, and then they can become your farms. So, stealing res, doing pretty solid. It's nice. Now, one thing I did not mention about the Bohemians do things, they can get chemistry in the castle age, which is very important because they can do hand cannons. Now, the thing special about their hand cannons, but they can do it. Extremely powerful unit. And on top of which, while they can't get their bombard cannons and their Huff Nice cannons, what they can do is get chemistry. So the moment Imperial happens, boom, bombard cannons are going to start popping out. Now, I built this TC, obviously a couple of moments ago, and then I also have that propensity where if I feel like I can, my final TC that I build will be my Imp TC. So I'm just making throwing axemen. Things are going pretty solid, and this was a mistake on my end. I got cocky in that I can just do throwing axemen, I can do some siege, and we'll be solid. Now, it's not the worst of decisions, but, you know, it's a factor. So, I'm over here just doing this, and we're just going to kind of go with that. Now, I knew in the long term, we got to get to critical mass, we got to get some map control, and then we're going to have to do something special to win for Civ, which is the Bohemians. that can absolutely destroy the Franks. And as usual, I don't get to. As in, I'm behind. So, my villager count's good. Our res count is really solid. And again, I got 5 relics, so we just need a little bit of time, but then we also need to continually apply some pressure. So that's what we're going to do. I noticed he has hand cannoneers. Lost a villager. Yep, lost another. But I'll get a few hand cannoneers, so that's not the worst. He lives. Sad. But, you know, so now I'm getting chivalry. Something I didn't mention earlier. Wow, that villager's been idle for hot. But, yeah. It increases the speed of the stables by 40%, and the real winner is the ability to speed up the research time. So that's the true value of the matter. Now, going siege, not a bad move, but as we'll find out, there they are. The bombard cannons. So that I cannot counter. I don't care to do bombard cannons versus his bombard cannons. This was just generally just a setup, so I'm at least delaying things, and I'm stealing enough res, but this is a huge waste. So many things now. I at least delay it. Oh, if I would have gone to the back and just went for kills or TC idle time, that would have been nice. But I didn't. I tried to steal his bombard cannons, and that didn't work. So yeah, those dudes get slaughtered, but yeah, I got it. So anyways, we gotta go. Now, what was I thinking? I don't know. But here's one thing I will say, is we're gonna leave. And I wish I would have gotten a kill with this truck, but I should have. So, all that to say, okay, I got a few hand cannons, but this was just an awful exchange. Because again, I got too confident. As we will find out soon, here comes the annoying steamrolling. And again, this is what they gotta do. But this guy basically paid for Imperial twice. What does that mean? The Huff Nice cannon is as expensive as Imperial. So it's like, I think 1200 food, and about 800 gold, but it's crazy. Now, then again, I did the same thing with my Paladins. 1300 food, 750 gold. Plus I paid an additional 1100 res just to be able to spam these dudes. So, not the most production facilities. But here's what I am doing. I am expanding and doing what I wanted to do earlier, which was... Look at this accuracy. Now obviously if you stand side to side, if you move sideways you have a decent shot to live. So, anyways, this was an odd decision to just try to steal as much gold as possible, knowing they're just gonna buy it. But such is life. So I've got the armor upgrades almost completely in. But I'm gonna have Blast Furnace next, and then I'm just gonna be making a ton of military. Now, this guy would have mixed in Helpers. I pretty much would have lost. Now this is over 15, almost 1500. It's 225 per gold. But you see how this just melts buildings right in its houses. So I know that the Bohemian Death Ball is coming down on my head. So I just got to keep expanding, and I got to just be able to hold. Good luck, guys. So, Ariko is so fantastic, I know. But we're housed, and I'm about to be just making more paladins and kicking in upgrades. So, doing nice on that. Now, the Death Ball is approaching. So, I only have 23 paladins. I mean, only, but let's see what we can do, right? Let's see what's gonna hit harder. His units are mine. So I immediately go for some siege. Get it? And then now, this is the I take out all of his siege, I'm just going for hand cannons. May have gotten a unit with that trip. So, in exchange for 9 paladins, I cleared out that entire military. My score jumped up to 10,000. So that was nice. And so I secure enough of this, but he's going to be focused on fighting over here. Shortest rush distance for what is also a very slow set. Now they have Wagenberg tactics, speed up their gunpowder units. Yay. It's bad paladin. I have 15 paladins in the queue. Sounds awesome. It's coming from one stable. So. Now, I do have a master plan in mind, but all told, I have to hold the line to even use any of it. Now, unfortunately, he's trying to take out that 10, so which is buying me time, it's buying him time. This is sour. Just don't lose a trap, and I would have hit him if he didn't move, but that's okay. Not really, but that's what it is. So this is the thing about these players, right? The production facilities are about the hammer time against me, but as we'll find out, I have tricks. You know, I gotta manage things, but you know, I have some plans. I'm not just gonna do the exact same thing again. And I got 20 plus paladins, so we're doing solid. Now, the thing about the Bohemians that a lot of people kind of forget is they have trebs too. And it's okay to sprinkle in some trebs every now and then, but no, they just have a single mindset of, I want to mass bombard cannons, and if I can, which is them, upgrade to half-nits. May have been like pronouncing this half-nits, but that's here and there. So, I do have a plan in mind, but we're not there yet. So, my job right now is to hold. Now, tech switching could have been done earlier, but you know, this strategy that I have in mind is going to work. Let's just get into it. That's sour to have lost that, but now I generally see what he is. Because Franks also get +2 line of sight for their movement, so. But here we go, right? So this is going to be meat shields and also siege hunters. We saw Pro do this, and that's really smart. So that's what I go. That's what I go do. I just go hunt siege. I also put a good meat shield. So that's how we'll do it right now. With 34 paladins, let's see what we can do. Going for the siege, which is good. I have a few more throwing actions to help. And this really set me up for success. I'm going to elite throwing action against all this. But I get the siege, I save paladins, and I get that entire unit, or that entire set of units, pretty much. Now, this was sour to have lost paladins for no freaking reason, but doing what I had to, I consider a success. Because again, yeah, sure, score, but also, like, getting that done. So, this is when I decide to tech switch, because I know, alright, I've done it twice, I'm not going to be able to do it a third time. Because this guy's just going to do this, which is spam an exorbitant amount of halberdiers and hand cannoneers. And that to say, please. Okay, so that to say, this is kind of my plan, right? So I want to execute this. But to do so, we just gotta do this final piece, right? Yeah. So I got 25 elite throwing axemen, and while not ideal, we will get a few siege, which is good, because we just have to delay and do what we need to. And I'm not microing that at the moment, because I'm busy doing other stuff, of which that's what we're gonna do. So But so while this is happening, I'm tech switching into hand cannoneers. Holy gosh, I don't even have. So we're getting it. But this is kind of my plan, and we're gonna see if we can execute it. But I saved this group of paladins. They've become extremely useful, and thankful that I did save them. And hold on a moment. So yeah, at this point, pretty straightforward. Just making some defense, a little bit of meat shield time, and just making a rearward castle to defend the back, and we'll just go from there, right? So the side attack, this was my little master plan. That's what we're gonna do, right? We're gonna just punch in, and we're gonna try to just disrupt his eco. Success. Now, ironically, this will do a little bit of damage, but like a paltry nothing. So in the meanwhile, chaos is happening, and I'm gonna be continually making some hand cannoneers, but it's gonna be rough for a little bit. So now I have just like cavalry weapons. So we're doing pretty solid. We're getting a ton of kills. That's one of the benefits of being a mobile civilization. So we're doing it. We're getting good kills, and that's kind of that. Now, I am up on the kill deathly, or kill, yeah, KD ratio, right? But that's because of this. So while that's happening, this is what's happening at home. Now, one would imagine that in the grand scheme of things, this would be a loss. But this is what's unique, because I'm able to hold this. Those 9 paladins that I had earlier saved this wood line because these halberdiers are generally fixated on villagers. And don't get me wrong, they're doing a good job of doing that, like just in general, right? So I lose this castle, and bad as it may seem, it's not the end per se. Because back home, or back at his house, shut his eco down, and we're doing good. Now, he didn't fix that. I'm going to take advantage of it.
Good fit.
Enter attack route 2. But in the meanwhile, I have to survive this push. So how am I going to do that? Just continually pumping out hand cannoneers. And while all this is happening, he's not realizing, but I'm taking out his siege. So this entire force has lost its punch. Now, I lost my relics, but he wasn't forward with the monastery stealing these, which would have been extremely useful for him. So now, it's strength versus weakness. He doesn't have wagons to save them, and he doesn't have his cannons to do anything special. Now, he wants to take them on the relics, but then he realizes, well, I can't do that.
Good fit.
My whole military is destroyed. Of which, enter attack group 2. Now, they're tethered together, which is a little sour, but
Good fit.
this is going to defend this. So that was really my plan. And, you know, got my paladins, got a whole castle full of military to hold anything else off that comes my way. And then these castles are just going to get some kills because he didn't do any scouting, and we're good. And then back home, these guys are going to defend this, and he can do absolutely nothing other than hand cannoneers on hope, which he could. He's got res, but psychologically, this kind of just took him out, which it did. So these castles were solid. This castle was somehow saved and did what it needed to. I was going to get my relics back, hence the monk production. And then the farm production, amidst everything, very solid. Definitely could have made some out here, but I went for the precious res, which was the correct call. And by and large, it was good. Again, zenith of my Frank time, but as you can imagine, it's very easy to counter the Franks, and without a perfect execution in the 4 general attacks over here, could not have pulled this off. And in spite of everything, barely on the score. And if this guy would have mixed in light cav at any point to take this out, probably, yeah, you know, may have lost. But he did exceptional at production. I mean, this guy had probably over 15 barracks, probably over 20 ranges, and then like 8 siege workshops. But yeah, it was good. So Look at the stats real quick. Yep. Pretty solid. Garlic Cold, sensational. I'm Dr. Leving. I fought Andre Hoffman. Hopefully that's not his real name. LOL. But till next time, peace.